Our next award is the second award named for Monsignor McNeill and is given to alumni who have achieved a high degree of success and integrity in their professional lives in the field of education. Tonight's presenter of the Leon A. McNeill Award in Education knows the recipient pretty well. They're brother and sister, and like myself and my sister, share the heritage of Newman University. Here to introduce the recipient of this year's award is Sherry Reed. Sherry, please come forward with Dennis Newell.
I'm here today to tell you a little bit about my brother, Dennis Newell. Those who work with Dennis may refer to him as Dennis the Menace. Well, just a minute, I'm going to tell you why. Dennis was the second of 8 children and had to play an active part in helping at home with his siblings and household duties. You see, when Dennis was 8 years old, he already was outnumbered with 4 sisters, and then I was brought home from the hospital with my twin brother. So as you can imagine, the number of diapers that had to be changed, I might add the old-fashioned way. It was at that time that Dennis learned the skill of negotiating, which relieved him immediately of diaper duty. He was your typical neighborhood kid who wanted to know everything that was going on in the world. He asked tons of questions, and he expected just as many answers from those he thought had more experience than him. He learned early on that the meaning of hard work, discipline, and responsibility at home. This cultivated his creativity and deepened his love of family. Our family was very faith-centered. Prayer was a part of our daily routine, and most of our family activities centered around All Saints Catholic Church. I can remember praying the rosary on our knees in the living room, taking time to pray for others. I can only guess Dennis was secretly, privately praying that Mom and Dad weren't going to bring any more babies home from the hospital. Dennis attended All Saints School in Bishop Carroll High, where he excelled academically and was able to get some of those burning questions answered. He always had something brewing or was experimenting with some kind of gadget. It's no surprise that his speech and debate teacher at Bishop Carroll commended him on his talent, energy, and enthusiasm, but included how ornery he was. Her sense of humor and direction encouraged him to continue his education. It was Kansas Newman University where he chose to continue his quest and would find his calling to education. He lived in the dorms and had an opportunity to study and learn from many fine teachers. In correspondence with Sister Thomasine about my brother, isn't it interesting that when she recalled him, she said, I quote, "He was mischievous," which she quickly added in a good way. Newman University prepared him for his profession, not just academically, but also spiritually. His Catholic faith has always been very important to him. In the fall of 1977, Dennis landed his first teaching position at St. Thomas Aquinas in Wichita. He taught 7th grade with 41 students, 7 subjects, while coaching 5 teams in 3 different sports. He quickly learned that it took more than lecture, assignments, and tests to engage his students. He found that students, when actively involved, became highly interested and not only learned more, but enjoyed learning. Challenge and change became Dennis's routine over the next few years, continuing his education in pedagogy. Dennis then relocated to Emporia, Kansas in 1980. For the next 25 years, he taught math and algebra in Emporia Middle School. This position covered a wide spectrum of change in content and technology. Dennis spearheaded and developed programs to connect his students with computers in core classes. This program is still in use today. Dennis piloted programs, wrote grants, and introduced his students to cutting-edge technology. In 2001, as a veteran team leader, Dennis was unsuccessful in securing a science teacher for the English as a second language position. The retiring teacher challenged Dennis to apply for the position himself, which he did, and he became the new science teacher. His awareness of needing immediate professional development stimulated his lifelong learning habits. Over the next 5 years, Dennis immersed himself in a study on research-based science, such as modeling, inquiry, and problem-based learning, which took him across the country to workshops and seminars. He also worked to obtain his national board certification in science, one of 20 in the nation. For 3 summers, he assisted scientists to research hydrogen fuel cells and biofuels for the U.S. Department of Energy at Sandia National Laboratories in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He began writing grants to secure science equipment to provide his students with hands-on learning, such as GPSs, and materials to transform the 40-acre school ground into an outdoor classroom. Teaching problem-based learning on alternative wind energy engaged his students, which helped them make connections with current issues facing our world today. It is no surprise that in 2009, Dennis would be chosen as an Albert Einstein Distinguished Educator. The program offered an opportunity for him to serve in the national public policy arena. Dennis relocated to Washington, D.C. for 1 year, where he worked with the National Science Foundation. His excellence in teaching now became a practical insight and a real-world perspective to policymakers and program managers developing educational programs for the nation. Dennis has been involved in numerous ways in the community as well. He has been a member of the Knights of Columbus for 28 years, serving as Grand Knight for the Emporia Council, and 5 years as District Deputy. He has served on the Emporia Catholic Charities for 8 years, where he held the position of President for 3 years. He is an active parishioner at Sacred Heart Church, where he is a commentator, lector, and a member of the adult choir. His love of music led him to St. Peter's on Capitol Hill, and he joined the choir there during his Einstein Fellowship. He has devoted countless hours to organizations in the community, such as Habitat for Humanity and the Emporia Arts Council. Dennis has also had the privilege of being a father. There, too, he has shared his faith and passed on his value of education. He has 3 children, Jesse, Jake, and Jennifer, who have all graduated from college and continue to practice the Catholic faith. Dennis has been blessed with many gifts. He is still a bit on the ornery side, but he has used his God-given talents to help others. He has made a difference in the lives of many. It is with pride that I introduce to you my brother and this year's recipient of the Leon A. McNeill Distinguished Alumni Award in Education, Dennis Newell.
I'm an educator. I can talk for 50 minutes. You probably know now why I teach in the middle school. It's a little bit crazy. I want to thank my sister Sherry for that revealing introduction. She wasn't my first choice. She wasn't my last choice, but she was my best choice. So thank you, Sherry. I want to thank Kansas Newman and all those who worked so hard to make this week possible. I'm very humbled in accepting this award, as there are many others who probably deserve the award just as much as I do. But for today, I consider this award not only for me, but for the others who have been part of my life and have gotten me to this point. I believe one of the most essential parts that I've been blessed with is my good family. I have 2 of my children here today. Jacob is my second son. He has an art degree from Emporia State. And then my younger daughter, Jennifer, my only daughter I should say, she just graduated from Emporia State as well in December. So now I'm free. Somewhat. My other son, my oldest son, couldn't be with us tonight because he happens to be in Oklahoma, covering the number 2 ranked Kansas Jayhawks. He's a sports writer in Lawrence. So he has his priorities. I would have probably been there too, so. I do have a couple sisters here as well. And they were pretty essential in my life. Suzanne and, of course, Sherry. Sherry mentioned that I had 5 sisters. But what she didn't tell you was I always told them there was one of them I didn't like. But I never bothered to tell them which one it was, and so they all took it real personal. That's how I competed against 5 sisters growing up. Finally, I'd like to recognize my parents, Alvin and Louise Newell. We'll get back to him later, my dad later. But for the idea that they presented me with a model of good Catholic faith. They got us into Catholic school, grade school at All Saints. They sacrificed so we could go to Bishop Carroll. Half of us went to Bishop Carroll, the other half went to Cape of Mount Carmel. Don't go there. But we'll figure that one out sometime. One of the most interesting things is when I graduated from high school, Bishop Carroll, I was only 17 at the time. And I was all ready to go into the Army. And I needed my dad to sign the paper because I was 17. And I scored really well on the officer training test. It was just incredible. And he wouldn't sign the paper. My dad wouldn't sign the paper. And what that did for me, that choice, it led me to Kansas Newman, where I became an educator and a teacher, and the rest is history. The education I procured at KNC continued to provide me with life's easy lessons that I still embrace today. First and foremost is my faith in God. Sunday is the Lord's Day. But a practicing Catholic means that I must continue this every day of the week. This became pretty apparent at an early age after the many projects I watched my dad do with the Knights of Columbus and the All Saints Men's Club. And any time the priest needed something, they always called our house. But that's okay, because I got to tag along. My current administrator, he asked me once, "Why are you so involved in everything?" And I told him it was because of my dad. And he said he wished his dad would have taken more of an interest in those types of things. I still continue the work that probably my dad started. Like Sherry mentioned, I'm very involved with the Knights of Columbus. I've been involved with Catholic Charities of Emporia, Habitat for Humanity, and I make pretty good darn pancakes. Mickey Mouse pancakes, by the way. I even did that in Washington, D.C. when I was there for the year. I have faith that my children will continue to follow in the footsteps that I've started, and I'm very confident they already have. The second lesson that I've learned is unless you buy a lottery ticket, you'll never win the lottery. Now, I'm not endorsing the lottery, even though there's a big payout tonight, and I think that's too late now, so it's okay. Attending Kansas Newman was like winning the lottery for me. What I learned at Newman was a philosophy that continues to give you the initiative to take a chance, to put yourself on the line, and to win some and learn some along the way. Challenges do not happen unless you take a chance. I had plenty of challenges at Newman, from the academics to the intramurals. Way to go, Sweat Socks. And though the chance to challenge those opportunities were always presented to everyone else, I seemed to take the best opportunity to take care of them. Finally, these last words are directed in my classroom after 30 years in a middle school. We are not born winners, and we are not born losers. We are born choosers. Choice is something we face every minute of every day. Do I drink that extra cup of coffee? Do I speed a little bit on the highway on the way to work? Attending Newman was not so bad initially because I found out it had a fish pond. I spent many hours fishing in that pond because I love to fish. I made a lot of good and a lot of questionable choices near that fish pond over my 4 years at Kansas Newman. I remember John Sample, our music director, continually sending someone from DeMatteis to run and remind me that I was skipping madrigals. I don't know how many times, but who was counting? I always knew that fishing wasn't the best choice, but the patience of the many instructors that I had knew where I was coming from, and their tolerance allowed me to be successful. They had faith that I would eventually make the right choice. And I did graduate, but unfortunately, without an official minor degree in fishing. There are many stories that I could tell you about my life at Kansas Newman and how it changed my life. One memory brings up another. It is this weekend's reminiscing with fellow classmates and staff that have contributed to my special moments of my Newman education, and for this I feel duly awarded. Tonight is just another chapter that I can add to that anthology about my life at Newman University. However, be forewarned that I am still not finished in my learning, and my education is far from complete, for there is always time to learn something new, and I have now. Thank you.